Alright, hello class, welcome to OPTCG 1067. Today we will be covering the latest release in the series, OP13 Carrying On His Will. Now with the release of OP13, we are seeing a shift in the meta, going from a jungle meta to a triangle meta. So what does that mean? Great question. To put it simply, the triangle meta will be made up of Emu, Zoro, and Ace. This is basically the new big three that will conquer the entire meta, while other decks will be falling short just a tad bit. Wait. So Yellow Yamato isn't meta anymore? Yellow Yamato was never meta, you dumb fuck. Yes, in December 2025, in our good lord meta of OP13, I decided to bring Mono Yellow Yamato to the One Piece offline regionals in Fort Worth, Texas, which was actually the first regionals I've ever taken part of. Now I know what you might be thinking. What the hell are you doing? Shouldn't you take something like regionals seriously? Surely you can't be coping this hard. Why can't you just play meta like a normal person? In which I will say, just let me cope, man. Realistically, I just really enjoy this deck's playstyle. It's essentially play bodies, heal, swing big bodies, and win. Easy strategy, right? Regardless of the strategy and how bad the deck is, I knew I had to lock in. I understood that the deck is not good whatsoever, but I felt it was, a good challenge for myself. And here I am today to show you how it performed. Now, I'm sure you have absolutely no idea what this leader does. I can't even blame you if you were actively looking up what this leader did right now. Even my opponents, no one even knew what this leader did, trust me. I also wouldn't be entirely shocked if you just forgot that this leader even existed, but that is part of the fun of playing a deck like this at regionals. So, to make things simple for the watch through, let me quickly explain what this leader actually does. Essentially, when you get down to 2 or less life and you attach a Dawn onto leader, on your opponent's turn, you become a 6k leader. Only on your opponent's turn though. That's a very important part, people kept asking me that. Now for matchups, I'm mainly just going to focus on the OP13 big three, which is Emu, Ace, and Zoro. Emu absolutely feels improbable, Ace is doable, and Zoro is probably the easiest of the three, if you can find your punishing bodies. But we'll get into that later. And now we can go over the deck list. So here is the final deck list that I decided on for regionals. And honestly, the more I play it, the more I do think this might just be the most optimal that I could make it. Granted, I'm sure there's other techs that I could try that maybe I might have missed, but for now, this felt like the most consistent. Minus not seeing Kuma for some games, but that's besides the point. So starting off, I'm running 4 of the 1-cost Lilith Searcher. It's essentially just searching for triggers, which we do run around 31 triggers in the deck. In my opinion, it's just one of the best yellow searchers to have right now, but it does hurt when you do find 2 Kumas in one search, which did actually happen. Next, we can go over our mid-range bodies, and we're running 4 of Kikunojo, 4 of Basil Hawkins, and 3 of Nekomamushi. If you've played Yellow, you know about Kiku and Hawkins, but essentially Kiku heals on KO and its trigger plays itself. Both go off of if your opponent is at 3 or less life. Now, Hawkins on KO just trashes the top of your opponent's life with a draw 2 and trash 1 trigger. So it's really good for hand filtering. Nekomamushi can essentially just swing into active characters if you attach 2 Dawn to it, and it even plays itself off trigger if your opponent is at 3 or less life. So essentially with these mid-range bodies on your 4 to 5 Dawn turn, you swing at lead, and depending on if they take it or not will determine which one you play. For example, against Zoro, you mainly want to prioritize on playing Hawkins early, and then later down the line you can play out your Kikus when they do get down to 3 or less life, mainly to punish Zoro for swinging into your board. And Kiku is the same way, but for Ace, because Ace will always be 3 or less life, and it's just a better play because you don't have to attach Dawn to swing with Kiku. And Nekomamushi is more so just a tech as a trigger body. Now for our top end, we're running 4 of the 6-cost Kuma, 3 of the 5-cost Boa, and 3 of the 8-cost Kid. In my opinion, running 4 of Kuma in almost any yellow deck is a must. Essentially, you just pitch a card and heal, and on KO you heal again. I think you absolutely need this in almost every game that you play. play. Most opponents I go up against don't even swing into this gigantic man, so it helps to keep board pressure, especially if you can slam multiple of these down in one game. Now, I personally think Boa is such an amazing yellow card right now. You essentially trash a trigger and you get to freeze either a rested leader or a character that's not Monkey D. Luffy. It helps slow down the aggressive tempo in decks like Ace and Zoro, and with it being a 7k body for 5 Dawn, I just find it to be a lot of value. And its trigger is KO a 4 cost or less, so you know, it's really good into weenies except for maybe Emu. Now we have 8 cost Kid, which on play is you rest him and trash the top of your opponent's life, then at the end of your turn you get to draw 1 and trash 1. It really helps with filtering out your hand. I actually wanted to run 6 cost Lucy from OP06 as just a fun tech card, and I think it actually worked pretty well with this leader, as it, you know, rests a 4 cost and you get to draw 1 extra card while healing. But I was told that Kid is probably better in this meta, so I just decided to play it, and I actually found it to be fairly useful in a lot of my matchups. Earlier I thought it was a bit awkward to play, but now I actually kind of recommend playing. It essentially just keeps the game rolling with good board pressure and filtering out your hand. Next is my absolute GOAT. 4 copies of 2-cost Shirahoshi. I run this card entirely for just board protection, which, you know, with a deck that spawns most likely just 1 body each turn, you kind of need to keep some bodies, especially in a meta that just loves KO and bounce effects so much. So as long as you're managing your life well, it'll come in clutch. Now we can go over our 2k counters, and these all have different effects that you can use, but mostly they're used for either a 2k or a good trigger. So first we have 4 copies of Zeus, just a 2k. It helps against Lim and Zoro, as well as getting close to your leader effect, but I mainly just use it for a 2k. Next we have 4 copies of the 2-cost Otama from PRBO2. The effect is activate main, you rest her and take your top or bottom life and give a character or leader plus 3k. It's very good for when you're swinging for game, but I mostly just use it as a searchable 2k. And its trigger is rest a 4 cost or less, much like Blaze Slice, so it gets rid of pesky swings or blockers. Next up we have 4 copies of Beige. Again, it's mainly just a 2k, but the trigger is it prevents an opponent character or leader from swinging, so it does come in clutch against like Zoro, Ace, any of those. And some matchups it did come in clutch. Most of them actually I did find towards the end of their swings, which wasn't really as helpful, but it's still a good 2k. And finally we have 4 copies of 4-cost Kinemon. Kinemon is basically just a good trigger body along with just being a good 2k counter. And now for events, I'm only running 2. First, I have 3 of Blaze Slice here, and this actually happened to be one of my other goats at regionals. Essentially what it does for 1 Dawn, you boost your leader up by 1k power, and if your opponent is at 2 or less life, you can rest a 4 cost or less. Really good into Emu's Warcurry, Ace's Marco, Zoro's Kyoshiro, any of those. And along with stacking with leader ability. I actually personally think this is one of the best yellow cards that you can run right now. With all of the aggression and the 4 costs and other blockers going around, it's so good. And lastly, we have an interesting tech in my opinion, which is 2 copies of L4. And honestly, after regionals, I'm kind of debating taking out 1 8-cost Kid for 1 more L4. I just feel like in so many matchups, I just kind of needed to see more of these. But it's essentially just a 2k counter for 1 Dawn, and if your opponent is at 2 or less life, you gain another 2k. It's just a yellow Rad Beam. And its trigger is KO a character with a cost equal or less to your opponent's life. Mainly used for weenie blockers, but early on it can KO things like Tashigi, Zoro, or any of those. And that's the main crux of the deck. To simplify, you basically just play Kiku, Hawkins, Nekomamushi, Kuma, Boa, and Kid on curve. You get your 2ks, you get your events, and you defend your life until the very end. And once you establish a board, you just attach Dawn and swing. And of course, use some of your counter to protect some of your bodies as well. Now with this deck, hand management is key, as well as not only managing your own life, but also managing your opponent's life with some strategic swings. Because how I mentioned with Kiku and Hawkins, you kind of have to determine what you're playing based on how much life they have. Same with planning for Blaze Slice effect, L4 effect, any of those. But also, it is Yellow Yam, and we're just here to have fun. But anyway, that's the deck list. Back to the vlog. Now, I have been a believer of Mono Yellow Yam for so long, even when we were in Jungle Meta. I even brought it to Bandai Card Fest in Dallas, and I got to show my new friends Koi and David the glory and vision of Yellow Yamato.
Bro, why did I win?
It works!
Ethan, shut up!
We also do some TCG Fridays over on Twitch if you want to ever come hang out. We have lots of fun there. So week of regionals, I decided to bring this deck back over to my locals to get some extra training. I mean, I at least had to face off against some of the big three and, you know, test out how the matchup feels before going to the actual main event. And so I was ready. I was prepared to sit down and go up against...
I mean, bro, it's just STO1. That's the first leader they've picked.
Okay. So after that, a few days later, it was time to get all packed up and make my 3.5-hour drive all the way to Fort Worth, Texas. I decided to go hit up my friend's B&B and, go playtest a bit more since I hadn't really played against Ace all that much. Now, all of my friends that you'll see occasionally throughout this video are the people that I play against at my local store. Shout out to Space Goblin Collectibles. I was able to playtest against Emu twice with my friend Alvin, and one playtest against Ace with my friend Kawo. Surely that was enough to understand the game plan into those matchups. I had to leave a bit early so I could get at least some sleep before the big day. Okay, so I have landed in Dallas. Yes, I am bringing the Yellow Yamato to this regionals. Gonna be very interesting. I feel very confident about the deck list that I've cooked up. I've been cooking this up for a while, but yeah, tomorrow is the big day. It is my first regionals ever. And granted, am I taking a troll deck? Yes, but we're gonna see how much fun we can have with it. I think my goal tomorrow is 5-5 if there's 10 rounds. I think that's pretty hopeful. I should probably go to bed though, because I do have like a 40-minute drive. We're gonna wake up, shower, do all that stuff, because good hygiene is important at TCG events. Everyone remember that. We're gonna see how this goes. See y'all tomorrow. So I woke up the next morning at 8 o'clock, refreshed and ready to go. My eyes were set on getting Chick-fil-A, some coffee, and I was determined to do well that day. I even texted my friends confirming that check-in was until 9:30. I'm not gonna lie, I hadn't left by the time I sent that message. I was a 40-minute drive away. It was 8 a.m. I had to get there by 9 a.m. It was time to zoom. But I did make it on time. This event was also being held at the Fort Worth Convention Center, which is a really, really big venue. So I got through security, checked in, and got all my participation packs. It's time to open. Another leader. But alas, they were all duds.
Show me the SP. Hey, yo! Hey, yo!
And Inuarashi.
You're the in this mold. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Now, if I'm not wrong, I believe there was around 650 people there. So my goal was to make top half. So 325 and up. I was feeling pretty hopeful.
I will have to say, I think my entire game plan is basically I just need to avoid the big three.
Good luck with that.
Actually, no, if I run into Zanji, I think I'm cooked.
No.
Am I good into
playing 5-cost Boa.
I'm only running 3 of them.
You have a good matchup into that.
Really?
Yeah, are you playing Alola Surgeon?
Yeah.
Remember when I played you with Zanji, you clapped me.
That was like 1 out of 3 times.
But that's how.
But this is also a new deck list, so.
Ace being a 6K isn't the issue, it's just that you can't keep up order.
Not if you have 2-cost Shirahoshi. I mean, Kawo's playing a Soga King.
That's crazy. The Kawo tech is really nice.
Dude, the Kawo tech was kind of crazy.
One of Soga King in his aces.
The SEC Soga King.
To stop the Jojo Ward, if bounces Jojo, you can draw 2 trash cards. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And after we got back, I decided to take a look around and see what everyone was bringing to this regionals. And as you may have expected with this OP13 meta, I saw a lot of Emus, Aces, and Zoros. But along with that, I also saw some Pudding, Zanji, and Yellow Bonnie, so I love that Yellow's still being repped. And I decided not to get any last-minute playtesting for 2 reasons. Reason 1 being, I didn't want to get all my good draws out in the playtesting and leave the bad draws out for my games. I'm superstitious, okay? Reason 2, I really just wanted to get the shock value out of people when I sit down and just whip out my deck for the first time. But after waiting and yapping with friends, it was time to start. Now I went and sat down, and for a split second, I thought I had a first round bye, when suddenly my opponent walked up, sat down, and whipped out Blackbeard. And our good lord of OP13, that was not what I was expecting. Now, this matchup is usually never fun for Yellow, considering so many of my cards use on plays, which, if you're unaware of what Teach does, he basically just turns those off. So the game plan going into this game is essentially just ignore the on plays, spam big bodies like Kiku, Kuma, Boa, and Kid each turn, and defend like your life depends on it. Well, because it does. And that's exactly what I did. And I think the game state was going fine the entire time. I feel like I was keeping up pretty well up until the last turn where I basically ended up throwing.
Essentially what happened was I had 8-cost Kid on board, 2 Boas, and a Kinemon, and then Leader Swing. So he had a Burgess, Caribou, Shiryu, Blackbeard, and Blocker Kuzan. So he had 4 blockers up, 1 life, 2 in hand, and I think he had like 2 Dawn up. I thought I didn't have lethal. And so I just basically tried to get bodies off of the board and like all that kind of stuff just by swinging. What should have happened is I should have blaze sliced, rested the Caribou, swung 9 with Kinemon, he blocks it with Shiryu, he KOs the Kinemon, then swing 9 with Kid, swing 7 with Boa, like all that stuff, and then swing 11 with Yam. He told me I would have won that way. And after that, he was swinging, I was countering out. He swung 13 at the very end. I had enough counter to get to 13. I needed 1K more. It literally, like, dude, it was just like the most, like, what the f, bro? I had a Kiku that I played on curve, Black Hole, KO. I was like, okay, great. And it just negates it. I was like, dude, what the f? I was like, that's crazy. It was insane, but, you know, it was close. It's 8-1 up from here.
But starting 0-1 was something that I was expecting, so I'm not too thrown off by this. Now, I'm not gonna lie, going from Blackbeard straight into an Emu matchup was something that I did not like seeing. As I explained before, Emu seems highly improbable. Is it possible? Yes, but just improbable. The Emu player starts off his game as any, just searching and searching. The main issue with this matchup is that you need to be very aggressive. Unfortunately, I play basically one body every turn, with most likely a swing or two in later turns. Emu wants to wait until the 10 Elders to just spam the body, spam the blockers, and keep Dawns up for events. So Yam just moves a little too slow unless Emu somehow misplays or bricks. Which, when are you ever going to see that? But what I found out to be especially clutch in this matchup is actually the 2-cost Shirahoshi. I specifically teched this for Emu and Ace. Now, I think my main problem with this game was I found barely any of my top end, so I was always afraid of him swinging at my board and not having anything left to swing with. But again, with Emu, you kind of need to swing a lot. So I think I ended up throwing this game off of that principle alone. So to everyone's surprise, I ended up losing this game. And this left me at 0-2, which, you know, at regionals, most people drop around X3, X4, but today I am determined to finish all 9 rounds, and hopefully with some bye rounds. Surely. My third round was against Ace, my least trained matchup. Again, I only had basically 1 rep into Ace from the night prior, and the only note that I took down was take the odd curve. And I felt like this matchup was basically impossible. The reason we take first, ultimately giving Ace his optimal curve, is because as I spam bodies, I need to attach Dawn to leader or even some characters and swing 6 every turn as to chip away cards from their hands. If we can get their hand to just be their top end bricks, then surely we can chip away at life and have enough bodies to go for game. However, I didn't find a Shirahoshi until later in the game, so I played down Kiku and... Yes. Unless you want to... Feels bad, but it's whatever. Now, I think this game I got especially lucky with finding my Kumas and getting good trigger bodies. That, and he found barely any blocker beards. His final swings left me with a triggered Kinemon and a Kiku, which I replaced for Shirahoshi. I was hesitant about this at first because he had 2 life, and I was scared because Red Rock Trigger exists. I ended up using Blaze Slice to rest his Marco, and just swinging 7, 7, 7, 8, and then a 9 swing, which he blocked. So I had a feeling another 9 swing would be enough to get through, and he ended up bricking up with all of his top end, as we mentioned before. So I ended up winning this game, which came to a surprise for me, because blocker beards are terrifying as hell, and there's literally nothing I can do about them besides my measly little swings. But regardless, I had finally won a round, and we're more up than what I expected to be. For my round 4, I sat down and found myself sitting across another Yamato player. Only it was green-yellow Yamato. Now this matchup, from my little experience, is very green-yellow Yamato favored. The double attack and potential banish can be hard for yellow Yamato since I rely on my triggers pretty heavily. This went as standard as usual. My only fear was he played the new OP13 Hiyori blocker, which basically heals on KO. So playing around that was fairly tough, but as usual, I just spam bodies and hope his swings aren't too big to handle. Luckily, he didn't find any banished targets if he was running any. But man, do those double attacks hurt. And as a double yellow matchup usually goes, this round went to time.
What is the ruling there?
What do you say?
Considering you're swinging, you finish the swing and then the game's over.
Okay.
Yeah, that's technically how it goes. The first tiebreaker is life, so whether or not you counter out of this...
I still win?
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, damn,
Good
right.
game, man.
Can I mention I usually don't play rounds to time, so this had me sweating, and I also felt bad because this dude was so cool and so nice. Then came round 5. At this point, I'm currently sitting at 2-2. I am stoked. I'm going to the higher tables. I was really winning rounds and doing well. Then I sat down and... the possible but improbable matchup. Funny enough, the guys around me actually recognized me from Koi's video here as that one dude who preached Yellow Yamato. I just thought that was super funny. Anyway, this matchup basically went as well as you would imagine it would. I will have to say I was surprised at how this Emu player was playing because they would just KO my Hawkins, which most players just kind of ignore them. But I got him down to 0 life, but of course, couldn't hit him around all the blockers and counters that he has. So with my very little board, I ended up losing. Not really much that I can do there, but you know, Akuma would be nice to see in this kind of matchup. Anyway, I took the round loss, yapped with my very cool opponent, and went on my merry way. Round 6, I found myself up against another ace player. This came as no surprise, but I knew I had to really lock in for this. In this game, I was able to play Shira, Kiku, Neko, and Kuma on curve while swinging 6k every turn, which is fairly optimal. The best thing about playing into ace is I don't really have to worry about him countering early since Kiku's effect is always present in this matchup. One card that came in clutch here was actually Boa, which helped me prolong the game and establish a good board. He also swung into my Kiku early, so I was able to maintain a lot of life for most of the game, which seemed really rare. But besides my Kuma and Boa, I really found no other top end, so it was really tough to be aggressive against 3 blocker beards. I got to a point where I stopped swinging my bodies so I could just keep them when swinging for game. However, on his final turn, I noticed that he swung with one of his blocker beards, leaving 2 blockers up, 2 cards in hand, and 0 life. And I had 4 swings. This seemed fairly possible. I started with an 8k swing, which he blocked, then another 8k swing, which he countered with both cards. Now, with 2 more swings, 1 blocker, and 0 cards in hand, I swung 6 at lead, which of course he had to block, then finished the game with a 7k swing from my Lilith Searcher. So yes, I swung 6-7 at ace to win a game. This win was specifically memorable for me because my friends were at the edge of the table and they all saw my Yellow Yam beat an ace and they were all cheering and hyping me up when the game ended, which was cool because my heart rate was literally at like a 120 BPM and my hands were shaking. It was insane. At this point, I was going to higher and higher tables, with my record being 3-3 going into round 7. I sat down and my opponent came with green Zoro. And as I said before, Zoro is the easiest of the big 3, so I wanted to prove that theory. I was able to play Hawkins and Kuma on curve. Then on 8 Dawn, I just played down 2 Kikus. At this point, anything he swings at, he will be punished, which he ended up swinging at one of my Kikus, but next round, I found my Boa to stun leader, which is so clutch in this matchup. Towards the end of the game, he had 1 blocker and 1 life up, and I had 5 swings. It seemed fairly possible for sure. I started swinging, hopefully, optimal numbers, but I got nervous because he kept using DMGs, but I eventually got there and he didn't have enough to counter. So we took another win, which I later found out.
Ethan, when you're going for lethal, you can boost with the Otama.
Oh, right, I had the Otama. Damn, oh my god.
Bro, how are you going to play a meme deck and not know?
Listen, man, I'm freaking out, okay? I didn't expect to get this far.
But anyway, I was 4-3 at this point, my first positive record of the day. Now round 8 was pushed, and I was surprised to find that my friend Jay had shown up on my Bandai app. My first friendly fire. Now, I knew him as being a fellow carrot enjoyer, but he was actually on Limb today. A known, but also not known, bad matchup for Yellow Yam. In general, aggressive body spamming decks do just really good into my deck, so I was hoping to find at least some Kumas and Kikus to heal a bit, but honestly, there's not too much to talk about this game because sadly, this was the worst I low rolled all day. I found 0 Kumas and barely any counter. I mean, just look at this board state. I had to end the game out with just swinging with all my weenie bodies, which he had enough 2Ks to answer every single one. So as expected from this, I lost so horribly. But at least it was to a friend of mine. But it did push me down to 4-4 and I was feeling defeated at this point. But I knew that we only had 1 more round, so I had to finish strong. It was finally the last round. I was praying at this point that I could just have at least a 1 bye round. Quite honestly, I was just hoping to have like 1 bye round for the past like 3 or 4 rounds. I mean, at this point, my brain was fried, and we always take a free win. Sadly, I did have 1 more game to play, and it was an ace player. You know, I had played 2 aces already and beaten them, but I didn't let this get to my head and make me all cocky. I knew this matchup was still difficult. This was just standard Yam versus ace plays. I ended up playing Kiku, Boa, and Kid on curve, but yet again, I found 0 Kumas all game, which is kind of important. So essentially, healing just didn't exist for me this game. My other top end was coming fairly nicely, and I was getting lots of counter in hand. But it actually did come down to the wire, and I was trying my hardest to find an L Thor towards the end of the game with searches and triggers, which actually would have saved me. He went to swing for lethal, and I had just enough counter to get out of a 13k swing, so I was hoping he would slip up and play down Roger and swing 13k, but alas, he was smart, and he just stacked all Dawn and swung 15. I was 2 counter off from my 5-4 goal. This opponent was actually super chill though. He told me that I actually had him sweating, which was a surprise since, you know, I'm playing Yellow Yam into one of the big 3. But I packed up my things and met up back with my friends. Which, speaking of, let's see how they all did.
All right, this is not RainbowMoonPony. This is actually local South Austin hero Chorg, who fucking scrubbed the fuck out. Oh, sorry, is this gonna get demonetized now?
No, I'm gonna bleep it out.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's see how everyone did. Nam, how'd you do today?
Horrible. 2-4 drop.
Sheesh.
Zoro's not it. Zoro's not it.
What's wrong with Zoro, Nam?
You have to see too good. You have to see way too good.
Tweet, how'd you do?
X4.
What'd you play today?
Roger. I just wasn't in the cards.
Nick, how'd you do today?
X4. I went 3-0 and then 3-4.
It's okay, it happens to the best of us like me. Jess, how'd you do today?
X3 on Zanji. 2 of the losses, they had exact counter. Did what I could. I only played 1 emu.
It's okay, there's a good chance. Next time. Ryan, how'd you do today?
2 and 3. I dropped after 2 and 3.
It's okay, you dropped 2 rounds after me.
Bonnie takes more skill than I thought. Might have to move on.
All right, Senor Rainbow, how'd you do today?
I went 4-5. I was 4-3 until my last 2 rounds. I almost beat my 3rd ace of the day, and that was 2k counter off.
It's okay, buddy. Local off-meta hero, it's okay. Sheesh. Jimothy, what'd you play today? How'd you do?
I played pudding. I went X4. That was unfortunate. I played the deck twice, so we take those.
X4's not bad though for
It's not bad. How many moms you dropped today?
moms.
At least like 10 or 12.
How do you feel about supporting your local MILFs?
Give them 10 Dawn each.
Bro, I'm just upset that why couldn't I have gotten at least 1 buy today? I just wanted 1. That was the plan. The yam works though.
This guy beat an ace by swinging 6-7.
6-7. Oh wait, yeah.
Okay, the results, all my matchups. Bro, 3 aces.
And after this, we decided to go get some celebratory Korean hot pot and barbecue. And man, did this hit hard. Regardless, I'm really proud and happy with how I performed at my first regionals, especially with a low-key troll deck like this. For months, I had people doubting me that I would even bring this to regionals, a bunch of non-believers, but I was determined to see how well I could do. And I actually think I played some of the best One Piece I've ever played. Granted, yeah, I didn't have a winning record, but I saw lines and I made plays that I feel like I haven't ever made at locals. Maybe playing at a higher level unlocks my potential or something like that. I don't know. But overall, it was a super fun event. I met so many cool people, had a great time with friends, and despite playing 9 rounds and being absolutely brain dead, it had me wanting to play this deck even more. And I even got to see a couple of my friends get top 64, which was really cool. And shout out to Kawo for making top 2 with that Soga King tech. I'd personally say that my first regionals was a success, and I'm excited to go to more in the future. Maybe bringing another deck that doesn't deserve to be there. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel a lot. If I met and yapped with you at regionals and you're watching this video, please let me know. Every single one of my opponents were so cool and so freaking awesome, especially when we were joking and talking about my deck. I had some people asking me for my deck list, others saying it was really cool to see this type of deck at regionals, and of course some people saying that I was crazy, but they loved it. So let me know your thoughts on this deck, or even if you saw me personally cooking in Fort Worth. I'd love to hear it in the comments below. And above all else, thank you so much for watching.
I'm telling you, Ethan, the title of the YouTube video, One Piece TCG Fort Worth Regional. Gone wild, gone sexual.
God damn.
The clicks are gonna be
God damn.
One bit cookers.
God damn it.